All right, you guys, we have reached the beautiful time. This a bit of, I guess, the sun is going down on the 2020 Humans to Mars sunset. But before we go, we want to ask that question: why persevere? In the year that is 2020, I bet you guys have some great stories. And so Explore Mars wants to hear your hashtag why persevere story. And we want to know your stories of strength, hope, perseverance, and do that on social media as you feel led. You can hashtag why persevere and then also tag at Explore Mars. And we started it around the launch of Perseverance and want to continue it until its successful landing in 2021. And as Alex Mather, that delightful seventh grader, so aptly said, I think he had a very prescient moment when he submitted the name Perseverance. Little did he know, or somehow he did, that that was exactly the word we needed to hear in 2020. I love it when he says, "We are a species of explorers and we will meet many setbacks on the way to Mars. However, we can persevere. We, not as a nation, but as humans, and we will not give up. Even faced with bitter losses such as opportunity, the human race will always persevere into the future." And so, with that said, I want you to take a good, long, hard look at this amazing panel of delightful humans that we have assembled to inspire us until we can meet again and possibly even hug again. And my first question for you guys all to talk about and share is, I want to know why you persevere with the work you do. Why do you do the research you do? And why you persevere and push for human space exploration. And up first is Dr. Sian Proctor.
Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today to talk to you about why I persevere. To give you a little bit about my background, I'm a geoscience professor at a community college in Phoenix at South Mountain Community College. I've just finished my 21st year teaching geology, sustainability, and some planetary science and life in the universe classes. But for the most part, I'm a geo explorer. And so I have traveled and taught around the world. And I consider myself first and foremost to be not only a teacher, but an explorer and also an analog astronaut. I like to live in Moon and Mars simulations when I get the opportunity. But when I think about why I persevere, I know that I persevere for the joy of discovery. We often think of that exploration and explorers are people who make amazing discoveries for humanity. And in a broad sense, that is true. But exploration on an individual, personal level is all about self discovery. And to me, I think we are all explorers, and that quest for new knowledge and experience and connections is definitely why I persevere.
Dr. Jim Garvin, why do you persevere?
Well, hi everyone. I'm Jim, and I guess I was a Martian at birth, so that's probably why I persevere. My mother once said that, so I guess that's true. But I think in my case, as a scientist who's had Mars in my veins since I was an intern for Viking, um, and the Mars chief scientist when we restarted our robotic exploration, I persevere because that's the way science works. Curiosity begets perseverance and tenacity. If you have a question, you're not going to stop till you figure it out. And Mars especially presents a perseverance frontier. So the rover we have on outbound to Mars right now is so aptly named by that young gentleman. So for me, perseverance is the tenacity to do and answer the science questions that literally for generations humanity's wondered about. What is Mars? Why is Mars? Why do we want to go there, or why not? And for me, as the first abode where we could look and address the question of are we alone, that's what perseverance is. We're still asking that question today as humanity, as women and men on this priceless spaceship Earth. So I persevere because, and I think our community does, because we are not done being curious. Never wait to wonder. And I think it's appropriate our Mars exploration program with our robotic adjuncts, our emissaries of ourselves, are such strong evidence of perseverance. I mean, look at the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter still going after its launch in 2005. Curiosity still trekking 20-odd kilometers later. These are records of traveling on other worlds that are really unequaled. And so perseverance, tenacity, it's in our DNA as we go explore. So let's keep going.
Vera Mulyani, why do you persevere?
So the reason why I persevere is because there is no other choice. Like, I rather persevere or the answer is no. So it's almost like trying to find the treasure within the roadmap of my life. So it's the only way to live life fully. So 5 years ago, when I started the company Mars City Design, it was possibly the first, one of the first creative architect teams that want to go out there and shout out how our profession would be very useful for space industries. And everyone would say no, and you're weird, you're crazy. Everything is just no answer. So the only way to do it is to persevere. Or it's like that Eddie Izzard situation, you know, you choose cake or death. So I prefer cake. That's like the roadmap to all these beautiful premises of discovery.
Beautiful. I'm a fan of cake as well, Vera. Dr. Saralyn Mark, why do you persevere?
Thanks, Janet. I am a physician. I'm the former senior medical advisor at HHS, NASA, as well as the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. And I created a nonprofit called iGiant. It's an accelerator for gendered innovation. And I also created a boutique consultancy called SolarMed Solutions, which provides scientific and strategic direction for industry and agencies across the globe and hopefully beyond. I persevere because space exploration is my passion. It's in my DNA. I'm a child of the Apollo days. And as a little girl, I always wanted to practice medicine on the moon and, of course, you know, now on Mars. So I persevere because I want to be a voice for those who don't have a seat at the table, to ensure that there's gender equity across all design elements for space exploration for our lives, of course, here on Earth. And I also persevere because I want to be an accelerator for innovation. If you think about the 1960s, it was a time of civil unrest, political discord. We had a pandemic and a war. But out of that chaos came incredible innovation and ingenuity and inspiration. So I persevere because that embodies the space program, and our lives depend on it. So thank you.
Miss Janet, you are muted.
I was too enraptured with you, Dr. Saralyn Mark. Michal, Ziso, why do you persevere?
Thank you for having me, first of all. And for those who don't know me, my name is Michal, and I am an architect, an entrepreneur, a public speaker, a human equality activist, a futurist, an eternal optimist, and a proud space architect. And my approach to space architecture focuses on the human experience and performance from social, cultural, and human diversity aspects. And why persevere? Well, once it hit me that our lives here on Earth could be better, and it may be better through work and innovation that comes from space exploration and research, and that I personally may have the ability to push that thing forward, I have no choice but to persevere. And once I realized that there are no real actual masters in life, no one really knows what they're doing. Just the brave ones are giving it their all, and they're hoping for the best. And once I really got that to sink in, I kind of asked that question that if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? So I think that once you understand that you may have a small ability to have a small impact on our lives here on Earth and in space, then you just really have to give it your all and hope for the best.
Lovely. All right, my good friend and fellow educator, Steve Sherman, why do you persevere, good sir?
That is a great question. Well, I am the Chief Imagination Officer for an educational NGO. We are a STEAM-based NGO, and we go out and make maths and science exciting for young students, and of course space as well. And for me, apart from teaching a few thousand students a week in classrooms around the world, one of my other jobs is that I'm a light bulb technician. I go into classrooms and I switch those light bulbs on. And one of the things I've learned is that when you are working with young kids, switching on all those light bulbs, it's not good enough to be complacent, and it's not good enough to stay in your comfort zone. No one grows within their comfort zone. So I persevere because I want to help people grow out of their comfort zone. If we are content and happy just to work on Earth and stick with it, that's fine. But that curiosity within me wants to know, what is beyond? Is there life? Are there going to be opportunities for us to go and explore the actual planet as human beings? I need to know, I need to persevere, climb out of my comfort zone and get there. For me, the word persevere doesn't just mean climb out of your comfort zone. You continuously climb out of your comfort zone. And I really am excited about the prospects of what Mars and the other planets have to offer, because technology is growing at an exponential rate, and all these wonderful things are happening within our grasp, our reach. We're going to see these happening in our lifetime, and that excites me, and that's why I continuously persevere, because I want to be there when it all happens.
This guy is my friend and brother in education. If you have young children, check out his website, livingmaths.com. Just a plug for a dear friend. Dr. Kavya Manyapu, why do you persevere?
Janet, thank you for having me on this panel, and it's a pleasure to hear from each one of you. It's just so inspiring. I am a space scientist. I work at Boeing on the Starliner program and International Space Station programs, and also an adjunct faculty at University of North Dakota Space Studies program. And I persevere to transcend boundaries, internal and external. I persevere to be instrumental in taking humanity one more step further and to transform human lives. I persevere to realize and achieve the full potential of being a human, and to do it together, not just as a personal entity, but not just as a single nation, but the entire human race together. And I personally believe that life can be significant only if you enhance your ability to experience beyond your current strengths and framework. And that's why I persevere. And thank you very much. It's been really such a pleasure to hear from each one of you and why you persevere.
You move my soul. I am so delighted that I get to know each and every one of you. Oh my gracious, this is just delightful. All right, and so now, Dr. Tanya Harrison, why do you persevere?
I persevere because as a scientist who also has a physical disability, you don't really have any other choice. And both of those things are by definition perseverance. Science, you're persevering by asking questions, doing tests, maybe getting things wrong every once in a while, or probably more than once in a while in the case of science, but eventually you hopefully figure out the answer. And having a disability is working around the way that the world is set up around you to figure out how you can navigate that with the abilities that you have. And for me, space always gave me this passion and this thing to look at that was bigger than me, and to feel like I was contributing to something to benefit humanity. And I really want to help people recognize that no matter what your ability is, space is something that is for you, and we need people of all types to be able to expand humanity beyond Earth. And I don't want to leave anybody behind.
And that is why you persevere. All right, Ron Sparkman. Why do you persevere?
I don't know how I could possibly follow everybody that has just said stuff, so I'm just gonna let it go off the sleeve here, off the cuff, or whatever it's called. I can't remember those things anymore. It's been too sleepless. But why I persevere is it's amazing what is possible with the human spirit and what you are capable of. I had a pretty rough childhood growing up, and through that I was able to find my way as a communicator, as a DJ, and to do a lot of really cool things. And I never thought that I would be where I am now. And that was all because of the people that were behind me that said, you are capable of so much. And really, this past year with the organization working with Explore Mars and Space Foundation has shown me that the ability that you have to connect with the world, no matter what anybody has ever told you, that you weren't capable of, and tried to kind of hold you down. So I persevere because it was kind of no pun intended, beaten into me, and it was something that I learned a little bit of the hard way. And so many people out there that I know are listening have dealt with that as well. If you are different, you have a voice and you matter. And I hope that you get to go out there and share that with the world. And I hope that you persevere as well.
You guys are just the most awesome people. My heart is full already, and I still have a few other questions. You see, I think that we must make persevering steps to create, plan, and dream of a better day. And we must continue to put one brave step in front of the other until that time and day when we will make an even grander leap and put that next step back on the moon, that next female step, and that next step of a man and all humans, and then the first ever human step on Mars. So let me ask you this, and we'll start again with you, Dr. Proctor. When we persevere, what can we learn? How can what we do for space and education benefit Earth? And many people might ask, in the year that is 2020, why Mars?
Oh, there's a lot there, Janet. Thanks. I think that what we can learn when we persevere, that's the amazing thing, is that all kinds of things. I mean, you just don't know. And that's what's so fun about it. And that's what's great about being futuristic and inspiring and thinking about ways in which we can move forward collectively. And as we persevere, we open up new opportunities and new challenges and new discoveries, and that just feeds on itself, and it inspires people to imagine. And I think about how humanity's ability to imagine the possible future in amazing, vibrant, beautiful, and sometimes destructive ways. But those are the things that help to keep us going, is this whole idea of how can we inspire each other through our perseverance. And as a teacher, that's what I try to do every day, is get my students to think about, to inspire them and think about how they can use their own ability to persevere to make the life and the future, not only for themselves and their family, but for all of humanity. And that, to some extent, Star Trek generation as we go on to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And so diversity, I think of a just and inclusive and diverse and equitable space that we can create together. And so thanks.
Now, I am for all of that and more. Dr. Jim Garvin, why Mars, why now, and what happens when we persevere?
So I think, Saralyn and everyone, we persevere because of hope. And the hope gets into that connection of imagineering a future, a better life, a different life, a new place. And so that's the sense of perseverance, I think, that's programmed into us as living things. And that builds in it an inquisitiveness that allows us to persevere even when we don't know the question we're asking. And so when we explore a place like Mars, it's an incomplete masterpiece every step of the way. We see a little piece of the story and we imagineer what it could be. Then we learn, but that's not the way it was. And so that beguiling nature of going to these tangible frontiers that sometimes remind us of home, and then we realize are so different. So perseverance is about daring to hope and keep going, having the tenacity to keep going, building the questions better, building the engineering so we can answer those questions, or even just try to address them. Just look at the exploration of Mars. Every time we've gone, with every single mission by every woman or man, we've asked questions and we've ended up with new ones that are better, bolder, tougher, and they've inspired us. And they've inspired us to look back at Earth and see things we didn't realize about where we live. Climate change run amok, the way giant volcanoes work, how planets with one plates work. All these things are part of what Mars is good. So you asked Janet, why Mars? I think why Mars is very simply because it's a place we can dare to hope of being ourselves. When that first woman, that first person, that first dog gets to Mars, we'll know we've come home in some way. So perseverance is about having the hope to be able to see that kind of thing happening. And as I said before, it's intrinsic to how we do science anyway. So I can't wait to go.
And Vera, when I think about your story and the hope as you sat on the rooftop looking out at those stars, why Mars, why now, and what do we have to learn?
There. I think it's because Mars is watching, it's waiting, and it's our destiny to have, other planets we should live in. But in order to do that, I think the first thing we need to make peace with is our own inner voice. We have to overcome all these little mindsets that, it's like a pollution in our minds that stops us to advance. And really, life is about advancing. It's advancing or we all die, basically. It's like, we only have the horizon to look forward to. And most of what is happening at the moment is pushing us to look down. And the only way I can keep moving forward, looking to the horizon, is with the help of looking up. And that has always been my, I guess, secret place of sanctuary that tells me, of course, you have all these possibilities and future. And if you don't like the moment you're at right now, you have to change it. No one else can do it for you. So that's why Mars.
Saralyn, I know that you want to add to that. Why Mars now? What can we learn when we persevere?
Such an important question, Janet. I think because we are all made of exquisite stardust from the beginning of time. And as we explore, as we go to Mars, we really find our own beginnings. We find our own understanding of who we are and how we fit within the universe and what our role is. And as Dr. Garvin mentioned, it's about hope and it's about understanding our own planet. I think, you made a really powerful point today. We all have stories and we learn from our own stories, and it helps guides us. And if I could just take a moment to share one of mine. A couple of years ago when I lost my mom, I was back in Colorado where I'm from. And I remember sitting outside one night and just looking up at the night sky and seeing the Perseid showers and just looking at the stars. And it gave me such comfort to know that we're all connected. Sometimes in times of desperation, desolation, we feel very much alone. And as we go into the stars, as we explore, as we go to our sister planet, I think it will help connect us back to our own humanity and back to each other. And just think about our own journey this summer as we watch SpaceX and our new launch of our commercial space exploration program. We all held our collective breaths, and then we all just had such joy and such relief, and we were united in that. And I think we have to go back and capture that. And Mars gives us that destination, but it also gives us our place in the universe.
Lovely. Michal, what can we learn and why Mars?
Well, for me, I think we are living in a point in time where our world changes exponentially. That means that every day, the amount of change that happens is twice the amount of change that happened yesterday. And it is a challenge for us to keep up with that change. And Mars is the perfect opportunity. It's the perfect balance between far away, that it's imaginary and it's exciting, and everybody loves to think about it and to imagine how our lives would be, researchers and regular everyday people. And it's also real enough that it's something that we have in our actual future. And when thinking about Mars and thinking about challenges that we might have on Mars, it's a very, very good way to think about opportunities of how to change things here on Earth. It's a way to talk about things that may be hard here on Earth to discuss, that maybe have some heavy feelings around those topics. And it's a good way to discuss those things on Mars. And also, when we think about Mars, and especially from what I do as an architect, when we design and plan for Mars, we actually, in a way, design for our own future here on Earth, which is a challenge if we don't go through that route on Mars, because every day so many things are changing here. So Mars is the best way to discuss things and also to really prepare for our future here on Earth.
Beautiful. Steve Sherman, why Mars, and what can we learn, especially as we teach what we call the most precious of the planet?
Well, I like to quote Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela. He said, "It's always impossible. What always seems impossible until it is done." And I think that the mindset that we have as educators when we're working with students, I can tell you this as someone who's quite au fait with teaching mathematics. I have met many, many people who tell me that they cannot do mathematics, but I haven't met a single person that cannot do mathematics. In other words, if they have already decided that they cannot do mathematics, then sadly, they are going to be the hardest person to convince. And I think it's important that we start to see the opportunities that come out of successful events and prove that what we originally thought was impossible is now very possible. And I think back to the moon landing. Think of the ripple effect that one event had. How many people became astronauts? How many people became engineers? How many people became doctors or went into the sciences because of the one simple impact that moon landing had on them? Can you imagine the ripple effect that landing on Mars would have for people around the world? You would have a landing that would represent all genders. I think you would have so many firsts happening in that particular event, and it would open up a ripple effect that I don't think we could ever quantify. It would be massive. And not only that, we as a species happen to be very curious. And I think it would be very sad if we squash that curiosity. We need to go out there. We need to go and try what is really difficult beyond our regular grasp. We need to try and solve those problems, because when those are solved, then think of the potential of where we could go next. So Mars is not our destination. It is our, it's a milestone within our journey of many destinations. And I can't wait for it to happen, because I'm excited about the prospects of how it's going to positively impact so many people.
Somebody write that down, because I'm listening. Mars is a destination in amongst other destinations. Dr. Kavya, this has got to be a great one to bet to you.
Thank you, Janet. So why Mars? Why space exploration? To me, space exploration is not just a step in history. It's a step in evolution. And the day we stop exploring, we cease to exist as humans. And as I say this, I'm having tears in my eyes, because I never, ever hope in a billion years we stop to explore. And what do we learn from persevering? For space exploration, persevering will help us innovate. Persevering will help us bridge those barriers that we carry here on Earth. The International Space Station, I think, sets that great example. It's a great testimony, as we can see with everything that's going on here on Earth in 2020. And we have people living up there with, international folks living up there together for the sake of humanity. What else? I don't think anything else can set a better example of that. And persevering for Mars, as Michal said, I think it would bring back so much technology back here on Earth to save our lives, to better humanity. And that's why we need to go explore.
Ron, what are your thoughts?
Yes. Restate the question for me again. I want to make sure I get to them both.
Yeah. Why Mars now, and what can we learn as we keep persevering?
Sure. Let me find me so that way I actually make myself full screen this time, if I can. No, first. That's why I couldn't find me last time. So, I think the reason why Mars, and especially now, is that I don't know that we've been ready before until now. We are finally really, the world is going to Mars. It's not just middle-aged white guys that first stepped on the moon, and we're going to see the first woman on the moon. We're going to see the next man on the moon, and it's hard to tell who that will be, but there is people from all backgrounds, all walks of life, and we are finally to the point that humanity is realizing that it's humanity that does go to the stars that is going to be a part of this. And I think that's a really, really big piece of it. And why persevere? And why does that matter? Most people put scientists and science communicators and astronauts on kind of this pedestal, and a lot of people don't get the chance to see kind of the behind the scenes, the things that they deal with, the failures that they had, and what it took for them to get there. That, at one point they had the challenges to go through. We see that that amazing final version, but not necessarily all the challenges and the things that we went through. And so just going to wrap up real quick. There's one thing I want to read from Carl Sagan that I love. And it was one of his messages to people going to Mars. And he says, "I don't know why you're on Mars. Maybe you're there because we've recognized that we have to carefully move small asteroids around to avert the possibility of one impacting the Earth with catastrophic consequences." If I could speak, I do it for a living. "And while we're up in nearer space, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to Mars. Or maybe we're on Mars because we recognize that if there are human communities on many worlds, the chances of us being rendered extinct by some catastrophe on one world is much less. Or maybe we're on Mars because of the magnificent science that can be done there. The gates of the wonder world are opening in our time. Maybe we're on Mars because we have to be, because there's a deep nomadic impulse built into us by the evolutionary process. We come, after all, from hunters-gatherers, and for 99.9% of our tenure on Earth, we have been wanderers. And the next place to wander to is Mars. But whatever the reason you're on Mars is, I'm glad you're there. And as Carl would say, and I wish I were with you."
Oh, indeed. All right. Last question as we go around. I want to just remind us that, again, everything I hear you guys saying, and we do have a lovely comment from somebody out here in the audience, from Kenny Duthry. How can we continue this awesome discussion once this amazing convention is over? And Kenny, all I can tell you is that contact us, reach out. Let us all make a commitment to keep this conversation going. If I may say a bold statement, Explore Mars is here. We have started this conversation and we will continue. This is not one flash in the pan. We are committed to making space exploration and the space industry. And we're willing to kind of like push to move the needle to make sure that it is diverse, inclusive, equitable, and all of those good things that good humans do. And that I know some of the best people I know are in this space industry, and I know that we can only do better. And we must open all the gates and all the doors and all the opportunities now. And Explore Mars is committing itself publicly and loudly to that cause. And so as I ask one final question of all of you, let's remember that the very same qualities it takes to design, build, launch, and land a rover on Mars it's basically what we got to harness today. The ability to do the hard things and put our own personal protective gear on, celebrate and advance diversity, and make all scientific exploration inclusive, and just to finally honor science as an important endeavor alongside our art and intermingle those things. My last question to all of you is, what do you want to say to our fellow Martians out there? if you had a couple of things you want to really communicate to them, what do you want to say to our fellow Martians to tell them how you hope they persevere? Dr. Sian.
I think Tanya didn't get a
Oh,
chance
I'm
to
so sorry.
kind of chime in on that last question,
embroiled in that thing. Tanya, let me come back to you. Sian, thank you so much. So why Mars, and what can we learn when we continue?
From a purely scientific standpoint, now is the time to go to Mars because we've really hit that asymptote of what we can do and what we can learn with rovers and landers that are there. We're going to start gaining little pieces of incremental knowledge with each mission we send. But if we really want to answer the question of was there life on Mars or not, and what happened to make it the cold desert that it is today, we're going to have to send humans with equipment and the brains of geologists and astrobiologists and more to really gain that understanding. And so I want to see us make that next big leap and understand what the history of Mars was and what that has in terms of implications for life on Earth by sending humans.
And we do have another question, and since you mentioned that, there's also lots of ethics to consider in that endeavor of going to Mars. Do you want to speak to that for a moment, and how might that impact what we learn about ethics and stuff on Mars and impact us back here?
It's certainly something that we're going to have to take into account because as we've gone through the world historically, colonizing places, it's not something that's been done well. People have been horrible to, the native folks everywhere they've gone. There aren't necessarily Martians on Mars, but we do need to make sure that when we go beyond Earth, we don't bring along all the problems that we've managed to create for ourselves here at home. So this gives us a chance to really analyze and figure out how can we set up systems that are better. And that's not just creating a system that's better on Mars. That teaches us something about how we can take that and apply it here on Earth. How can we actually make our lives better? How can we be better stewards of our own planet and be better to each other so that we create a society that is supportive and will actually function as we move beyond our one planet and make it more than
lovely.
one.
All right, let me go back to my question, and Sian, I'm going to throw it to you, my dear friend. Again, last words so that we can leave our fellow Martians that are listening into the H2M Summit on a rousing high note. What do you want to say to anyone out there listening to you? How do you want to encourage them in their own lives and in their own stories to persevere?
Thank you, Janet. It's been a tough time around the world with COVID and with, especially in the United States, with some of the things that have been happening in Black Lives Matters and just humanity overall's struggle to get along to some extent. And what I'd like to say to my fellow Martians is that we are the designers of our future, and that it's in our hands to make that space that we want, and we can absolutely create what I call that Jedi space, that just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space, as long as we work together to have that common vision. Just those 4 things working in harmony. And so when you think about your day-to-day life and how you can use, not only persevere, but think about how you're small, you feel small sometimes, but your presence and your actions and your thoughtfulness and connections to others actually does make a difference. It makes a difference to everyone that you come into contact with, and how you go about that matters. And so I think that my big message is mindfulness, thoughtfulness, and let's strive for that Jedi space.
Did you come up with that? Has that always existed, what Jedi stands for? I love that.
There's been other places that it's been used, but I added space to it, but Jedi, the Jedi space.
You are amazing, Dr. Proctor. All right, Dr. Jim Garvin, what do you want to tell those fellow Martians out there? Maybe it's a tough time. There's lots of obstacles. Maybe there's any number of things that are very heavy in this world. How do you want to encourage our fellow Martians out there to persevere?
Well, first, Janet and everyone, I want to say something special to the Martians that are out there. And those Martians are the ones that may or may not have been on Mars. Because part of our quest in this whole discussion over the last several days and the last hundreds of years is to ask that daring question, are we alone? And if there's Martians, I'd like to tell them, we'd like to come and get to know you in a way where we tread lightly and let you live well yourselves in the way that you may have been living. And discovering that possibility would be a game changer, I think, for humanity, recognizing that we're not the only species on a lifeboat of our beautiful planet as it's going through these incredibly tough times, persevering in the face of pandemics and challenges to how we work together socially in all the ways that everyone has been talking. But the big message I would make is this is a unique time in the human history when we have the tools to strive to bring engineering, art, science, people, social constructs together to tackle things that are almost beyond imagination. That science fiction becoming science fact is more like the great stories of science fiction becoming what we actually can do. And so 500 years ago, Leonardo da Vinci passed away and left behind a legacy of art, science, engineering, imagination, things we revere today. And in 500 years, we've come a long way. And I think in the next 500, Mars is going to figure in our future. So I'd like to ask and tell all the other fellow Martians, let's dare to go. We're going to go to Mars and return samples. Let's bring ourselves there too, as part of that equation of discovery, as part of the engineering of great new things we can do together to unite and actually build upon what we've achieved. Space for 60 years has been a human endeavor. Let's give it another 60 to 500 so we can wake up in 500 years and Da Vinci's great grandchildren or whoever they are can look back and say, wow, those humans, in 2020 dared to go and attack that Martian frontier. So Mars waits for no one, so let's go.
Dr. Saralyn Mark, how do you want to encourage the audience to persevere no matter the circumstances?
Janet, we have to persevere. I see every one of us as ambassadors. We're ambassadors for space exploration. And by being an ambassador, we have to share a common language, and we have to foster those alliances to be able to explore, but also to survive. And I think if anything that we've learned from the summer, that divided we do not stand, but united we soar. And I hope that we establish that common goal, that common lexicon, so that we can learn to communicate with each other, that we bring all groups together, and that we not only explore the stars, but we also heal our own planet. And when we do that, we heal ourselves.
Thank you so very much. Next up, Michal Ziso. What do you want to say to anyone out there who might be struggling or looking for purpose or their passion? Why should they persevere?
Well, my fellow panelists here said so many important and amazing things. So I want to build on that. Maybe if we could all wake up every morning and try to picture the way astronauts look back at Earth and see how everything is connected and that we are all parts of spaceship Earth and we are all equal. And once we really, really, truly understand that every little piece matters, every little piece has an effect on something else, then maybe we find the strength in ourselves to persevere and to keep on trying to do what we think is good and what we think can make an impact, and keep on trying to look at the stars and try to reach for the stars. Because once we are really in our flow, and I discovered it also in my own personal journey, once we are there in our flow and we're doing something that we really truly believe in, things starts to happen. Our universe starts to open up to us, and things start to happen, and kind of the doors opening in our path and are helping us to continue and to walk through that path. And I think that we really should remember that we are all part of something bigger, but every single one of us matters. And as for the message for maybe Martians out there, I think maybe instead of a message, we should make a commitment out loud that we will learn from our earthly mistakes, and we will try to remember that we are part of this Earth or any other planet, and we should treat it with respect. Everything that we take out of it, we should bring back in another way. I think that's an important commitment to make here and also on Mars when we get there.
Vera, you have students watching. If anybody was planning on watching Vera's wonderful presentation, we're going to be broadcasting that in several other ways. But you've got students who are also tuning in. What do you want to tell those students of yours that might be struggling about what their next move is, why they should also persevere? You're muted.
Class. Oh,
I got you, Vera. You good.
thank you. All right, let's repeat that. I'm really excited to have the Loyola Marymount University students that I'm starting to teach this fall, and really proud of them being out there already for a class named Occupy Mars. It's the systems engineering, and with my fellow teacher, co-teaching partner, Mary McGilligan. We're really excited to invite them to join this conference. I think a lot of these students are actually already professionals, and they just need the focus that is the next step to reach Mars. So I think as a Mars architect, I'm really enjoying so far, imagining what would humans who live on Mars after the third generation of landing on Mars would look like or would be. And the answers, most of it is that we will miss Earth, and we will miss that nature. We will miss that smell of the thunderstorm right after such heat and humidity. That we created a perfume specifically with that smell that I have of reminding me to my childhood in Jakarta. It's called the desert rain, and everything is learning from our fellow astronauts. They miss their family, they miss their routine, and I was just drinking my water, and I'm like, wow, on Mars this is going to cost so much. For Earthlings, really enjoy Earth and appreciate what we have. And then don't be afraid to go beyond. And this is definitely a heavy year of transition, speaking of 1G of Earth, when we only have 1/3 on Mars. And it's a year of transition, but it also means a new beginning. And I really enjoyed Elon Musk's presentation on Neuralink. He talked about how the future is going to be weird, and it's not to be afraid of. It's to really using perseverance to advance and to enjoy that, not just to adapt, but also how can you contribute, because at some point perhaps none of us will be here anymore to really see the payoff of what we are all doing today, creating this path, so the next generations could really envision our dream. I mean, look at all those designs of future cities that was done by all these amazing artists in the 20s. We're living in that now. So what can we envision for the bright future on Mars? And I'm just really psyched and excited to see what we get from the Perseverance rover research next year when they land, and the next 10 years, we're going to focus on this. Hopefully, we will possibly see how Mars is so a twin planet with ours. And we were perhaps living there once, and now we're trying to go home.
Dr. Tanya Harrison, what do you think? What do you want to tell anyone out there listening? You definitely have had a recent surgery. You're doing much better, but life doesn't come without some of its challenges. What do you tell people about persevering?
I say to find the thing that you love and focus on it and use that as the thing that carries you through all of the bad times. Because most of the time, those bad times are going to be temporary. But whether the thing that you love is Mars or space or music or art, let that be the one thing that keeps you going and keeps you driven so that you want to persevere and keep pursuing that dream. Because it helps to have this shining star that's kind of outside of everything that is bogging you down if you're having a bad time, like in that specific moment of your life. So that's always worked for me, to just think about Mars as that thing that I'm chasing that is more important and beyond anything else that might be impacting right now.
Beautiful. Steve Sherman, what do you want to tell all of our dear students who are probably listening, and for your students and for the students of the world, why must they persevere and why we're counting on them to persevere?
Well, let me paint a picture. Imagine,
Steve, you are killing me today. And normally I'm the one with the backgrounds, but well, was it sci-fi? That's what we said yesterday. So back to you.
We don't have
I'm
fancy
keeping you on your toes. So they said it was a dress-up party. Did I get it wrong?
The physics of the body just killing me.
All right, so this is what I would say to the students. Imagine you were living in a home and you had a very high wall around your property and you never ever left that property. At some point, you're going to be curious to know what is on the other side of that wall. So you're going to climb the wall, but you're going to realize it's too tall for you to climb and you don't have the means to do that. So you have to build something. And once you've built that thing, maybe it's a ladder, you get to look over the wall and you think, wow, I've got neighbors. That's very interesting. And look, they've got a spa pool and a little bar, and maybe not for the kids, maybe a playground. And that looks absolutely amazing. I would love to learn more. And I think this is why we need to persevere, because we will discover all these new things in our pursuit of knowledge and curiosity. And just to get to the reason why we need to do it, and let's pretend we were talking to those future Martians. The reality is that we are the custodians of the legacy that we want to leave behind for the younger generation. And if I had to go and speak to those future Martians, my words would be succinct, and I would say something to the effect of, we can do better, we must do better, we will do better. And my commitment to you would be to bring the wisdom of hindsight with us to ensure that we create a prosperous future. And we all know that history repeats itself. And today we're going to put a stop to that. And we're going to chart a brand new path. And hopefully we'll all be able to sing Kumbaya and live happily ever after in our new future.
I am with you. I have to tell you guys, Steve and I, with plenty of hubris, I'm sure, count ourselves as the guardians of the galaxy and also shepherd and shepherdess of these precious little future explorers. Dr. Kavya, with your own precious little, is it 11-month-old, I think, what are you going to tell your little one about why they should persevere?
Yes, I'll actually start by quoting one of my favorite quotes, which is, "Great works are performed not by strength, but by perseverance." And I would say, be curious, be passionate, do whatever it is you're doing in life with intensity. Do not take no for an answer, and be inclusive, transcend those boundaries. And I want to end by saying, we often talk about, being a superhuman, but I want us all to understand that it's not about being a superhuman, but it is about understanding that being a human is super.
Please, somebody write this stuff down. I'm going to have to write. I'm going to have to listen and watch this several times over. Ron, closing thoughts on anybody. You're an influencer. You are changing the world with your generation, and lots of people are listening to you. What do you want to make sure that your fellow people are listening to, and what you want to tell them about persevering?
Absolutely. You have no idea the challenges that are on your way, and you are not going to know what kind of what ability you have to really do wonderful and amazing things. You probably have a path in your mind right now of what it's going to be, and it will be completely different from that, and it will be so completely beautiful, and it will scare the heck out of you, and it's going to be it's a wonderful ride, and you will look back and say that you wish you could go back to where you are now and say, you know what? It's been amazing. I wish I could go back 20 years ago to 18-year-old me that had no idea what he was going to do when he dropped out of high school. And, from becoming a DJ to working with all the people I've been able to work with in that area to now, I do indeed have 2 globes. Move a globe. Quick shout out, #move a globes. But here's the thing that you're going to find. You're going to fail over and over again, and failing is okay. You were on no one's timeline but your own. I failed first I got my GED in my 30s, and then from there I took college algebra, failed it, went back, passed it, failed pre-calculus, went back and got through it again. Actually, I might have failed it twice. I don't remember. But I mean, there's just so many things that you may fail at, and failing is not a bad word. It is how you learn, and you're going to learn so much from that. And you don't, so that's why I like to say you don't fail, you learn. So just take all of that with you along the way, because anybody that has had a perfect life, and that doesn't exist, it never has and never will, wouldn't be prepared for the challenges of what it's going to take to get us to Mars and to survive on Mars. And you are going to be such a big, big part of that. It's going to take all of us. Look to the people that are on this panel. They are wonderful examples of what you are capable of. I hope that throughout the summit that you've seen somebody that looks like you. If you don't, then feel free to message us, and we will find somebody that you can relate to and somebody that connects with you. We want to do better for you. But just go out there and chase every dream you can. Find the thing that you love, and it is amazing what you are capable of when you fall completely in love with something that matters. And to be a part of something that can change the world, that can affect other people, is one of the greatest gifts that you can ever find. So find the thing you love and put everything that you have into it, and you will find that persevering just kind of comes along with the territory. So and thank you for that, and for being on this panel, and for everybody being here with us from this week. And what a wonderful time. So back to you, Janet.
Beautiful, Ron. It's like, I want to share one of my favorite quotes. It's by Tony Wagner of Harvard, who wrote the book Creating the Minds that Will Engineer the Future. And in it, he says that we must let our children play. And in the middle of their play, they may very well find their passion. And in the middle of their passion, they may very well find their purpose. And so play. Find that passion, and remember that tenacity, vision, endurance, fortitude, clarity, courage, promise, ingenuity, those are the 9 finalists of that almost got to be named the rover, and perseverance. And we must contain all of those and be able to say, I will take all of that into my arms and keep marching forward. Why do I persevere? I believe good does indeed triumph, that rovers will launch and land, that the diversity of everything is critical, and that life on and off planet Earth will only improve as we venture onto Mars and beyond, because we collectively decided to persevere. But I persevere even more because of the Artemis generation. I have full faith, as well does Mr. S., that you guys are the future. I persevere because of Jesse and Christopher and Ander and Lucas and Dharma and Dua and Tapaswini and Alex and Hashim and Obi and George and Taylor and Maggie and Evie and Judah and Sabrina and Jack and Abigail, Alyssa, and the list goes on. I persevere because of all of you. Because I know that you are going to make this world better, that you are the change agents, and you will carry out every dream that the space industry has been dreaming for a really long time. So everyone, go forth, persevere.
Well, now that we're all crying, Janet.
Janet, we were not planning to cry.
Tears of joy.
I can't help it, guys. We're in a very critical moment in our world. And if we don't band together now, I don't know. But those names that I called off are so dear to me. I love them like life. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for them. And if you're a parent out there listening, Mr. S and I are going to have lots of fun classes. In fact, my classes on Janet's Planet are all going to be offered for free because, and leave it to Mr. S to bring it back.
Just a little bit of levity.
And needed that.
And so again, if you're interested in how you can connect and how you can be part of the Janet's Planet Astronaut Academy and those kinds of things, please reach out to us. We're going to say goodbye for now to all of our panelists as we welcome the CEO, Chris Carberry, back into the room. But let me just say this, I bow before your divinity. Thank you so much for being here and reminding us all why we must persevere. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. This will take me a second.
All right. So I will be in touch with all of you fine people, but hear me when I say a big and hearty thank you. Have a great holiday weekend. Oh, look at that. Oh,
hey, Janet, we're bringing Chris into this.
Beautiful.
Yeah, one sec.
And you must check out, I can't believe Sian Proctor can do anything, and now she is also discovering her artistic side. Tell us a little bit about that, Sian.
You know, Janet, I've always wanted to be an artist. It's kind of like the people who've always wanted to be a scientist, but didn't think that they were creative enough or smart enough and things like that. Well, like I'm the same way, but with art. But when I found space, I just got inspired, and I wanted to see more women of color in the space, going into space. And so I have my Afronaut Space Art series. And so this I call Windows of Opportunity. And I created this right after our panel on Monday that we did, because it made me think about how women of color are looking for those windows of opportunity in the space industry. And I hope to be one of the people who helps open those doors.
Let me affirm you, my friend. You already are. You are such a role model. Trust me when I say you are leading the way, and we will make sure that on our social we let people know how they can find that. It's stunning. Your gifts astound me. They simply astound me.
And thank you, ExploreMars.
And we're so glad you're part of our board of directors. So, Chris Carberry, where are you?
Chris, wrap me up.
Oh, there I am.
There you are.
Well, that is literally an impossible act to follow. Oh my God. It's like,
ooh, I know.
You know what? Quite impressive. What a wonderful panel. I mean,
what a wonderful panel.
I think that was probably, we've done some of these wonderful inspirational panels at the end of I can't even remember the name.
Chris, stop moving away from your mic.
What?
Yeah,
stop moving away from your mic. You like that?
All right. Well, I drifted, I drifted to the side a little bit, so I'm not close to my mic. But yeah, no, we've done these inspirational panels at the end of the Humans to Mars Summit past 3 years, but this, is by far the best. They've been all good, but never quite this emotional, never quite so poignant. So well done.
Well, here's what you guys will know. You guys know that I grew up in Tennessee. I am a Southerner, and it's like our emotions hang pretty close. So, but truly, it's such a privilege to serve the kids of this world. And I'm delighted. And I want to say a special thank you to our board of directors and Chris Carberry, Wade Holler, Ron Sparkman, Debbie Cohen, so many beautiful people that have allowed me to be president of Explore Mars and make my many bumbles and allow for growth in myself. And we want to really say thank you to our board of directors and our board of advisors. We're committed to making those ever more diverse. If you have interest in helping Explore Mars in any way, we ask you to join along. But I just want to say to everyone that has been part of this last year and a half for me as Explore Mars, and especially a shout out to Artemis Westenberg, who's my predecessor, but also my dear friend, who has also walked me along this path of serving you guys this year. So thank you to Artemis as well.
Yeah, I'm going to thank our sponsors, but then I'm going to thank the entire list of the volunteers, the board of directors, and our board of advisors, because everybody contributed. And I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, and I apologize because it's just so many people who helped this time. There's no way I could possibly list everybody. But we'll start off with our sponsors. Once again, Aerojet Rocketdyne. Aerojet, I should point out, was our very first sponsor before we even had a name as an organization. Aerojet jumped in as a sponsor, so that's pretty impressive. Lockheed Martin's been there for many years. Boeing as well, Northrop Grumman, the United Launch Alliance, Qualtech, the American Astronautical Society, who has been a great partner with our Achieving Mars workshops as well over the last several years. Paragon Space Technology Company, MDA, and the list goes on. And I'm going to put on my crooked reading glasses to pull up the list of additional people to thank. But I suppose we absolutely need to thank our technical team. As you may have noticed, we had a few hiccups on the first day of the conference, and we had to kind of make a lot of behind-the-scenes changes to make this conference work. And after a while, I think you've seen it has evolved. It's become fairly seamless since then. And it basically brings out that word perseverance. We, persevered, figured out a solution, and evolved as we moved along. So special thanks to Wade Holler and Ron Sparkman, who led our technical team, who managed to find a workaround for all these issues and turned it into a spectacular conference. It would not have happened without those two gentlemen. But also Dan Collier, Alex Martin, Saki Krikorian, Adrian McLean, Josh Powers, Katie Spencer, Amanda Walton, David White, Brandon White. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your names right. I've never heard them right, but only your first names. Of course, Janet Ivey, who's managed to fill every moment whenever there was an awkward moment when we did have a technical glitch, stepped in to figure out how to make this seem, seamless, as though we intended to have this moment. You
were never supposed to have that much Janet. Too much Janet.
It's like, who knew? But no, you were brilliant. Joe Cassidy, our executive vice president and board member, Rick Zucker, our vice president of policy and board member, Gary Fisher, our treasurer and board member, Sian Proctor, a board member, Linda Karanian, board member, J.R. Edwards, one of our board members, Allison Renault, a board member, Rich Phillips, board member, and our board of advisors. I think you all probably have heard of a gentleman named Buzz Aldrin. Also, Penny Boston, Doug McQuistion, Tiffany Montague, Miles O'Brien, Andy Chaikin, Sam Burbank, Jeff Bingham, and we've just elected several new members of the board of advisors. Our new chairman of the board of advisors, I can't even speak anymore, board of advisors, Mark Hunter. He's doing a spectacular job so far. I'm sure he's just going to move the board of advisors to whole new levels. Tanya Harrison, Moriba Jar, Naeem Altaf, and Vera Mulyani. So thank you very much. Welcome to our board of advisors. And there are so many more people we want to thank, because we've had this year, I can't think of any year we've had so many partners, which we haven't thoroughly thanked this year. Yeah, just the social media partners, the influencer partners, where we've probably more than quadrupled, by many orders of magnitude, expanded our reach to millions and millions of people around the world. So it's, we appreciate your help. Sorry if we can't, express that enough here, but,
Yeah, there's like 60 of them. My bad. That was on me.
Okay.
I said there was like 60 of them this year. That was my bad. Sorry about that. It would take you a while to go through all of them.
Ron's fault. Ron should have been mentioning them. So I it's not my fault. It's
Ron. It's not your fault. I went a little crazy this year, but we love all.
Thanks, Ron.
Oh, it has been a great privilege and pleasure. Thank you for spending the 4 days with us. And as we go into this holiday weekend, we want to especially wish you safety, health, the most health possible, and just a great, relaxing holiday weekend, a breath before we persevere and start again.
Could I use that?
Right. I think the team at Explore Mars, I think that vacation is beginning in just a few minutes from now. So we indeed can't thank you enough. You'll be hearing, he's already started. Holy cow. Well, guys, please remember, #WhyPersevere. Most of the programming that we have, or all of the programming that you've seen this week, as you can imagine, there is lots to upload, lots to make available. Give us the weekend and, know that everybody's going to take a good and well-earned break after many, many weeks of preparation, and then this week especially. And we'll have the content up for you to view a second time if you so wish. Listening to some of these panels, I know it's like just you could listen to them several times and gain a gold nugget of information and inspiration every time you listen. So these videos will be made available very soon. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. See you next year. Humans to Mars National Academy of Sciences, May 11th through 13th, 2021. Hopefully in person.
Indeed.
See you then.
Live long and prosper, LLAP.